my life was always, home and then school and then home. And I just basically grew up in a safe place. And one day while I was walking to school, someone assaulted me. My ex-boyfriend saw me in the streets just a few feet away from our campus gate, and he strangled me in broad daylight. And after that, it was a whirlwind of events, and my life was changed forever because I tried to fight for justice. I tried to apply for like a case in school,
Mm.
and they dismissed it because they said it technically happened 10 steps away from the gate. So it's not within campus territory.
Wow.
And back then, I just took it as it is. I was 19
Mm.
years old. I didn't really know anything about fighting for justice because this happened way before the Me Too
Right.
time, right?
Mm.
And I had no idea that after you get assaulted, you should go to a hospital to
Mm.
file for a medical legal exam.
Right. Right.
And I had none of these technical things. I only had my truth. So I kept fighting for it until there were court hearings, and there was a file, there was a subpoena,
Mm.
and I go to school with brown documents.
Wow.
Imagine being 19 years old and entering school with a brown envelope with all these legal documents. And 19 is where you're supposed to party and you're supposed to enjoy your senior year in
Right.
college. And
Right.
here I was fighting something so big, and it was my first time to experience you're in court and you
Mm.
have to prove that you're telling the truth. People would ask you, what were you wearing? Were you wearing shorts? Have you slept with this man? Did you like sleeping with this man? How many men have you slept with? And that's
What?
the reality of it. That's the reality of fighting for justice. And it was so unfair because instead of having to have justice, you're the one defending yourself. You're
Right.
the one having to prove that you're telling the truth.
Mm.
And I just felt so alone. I had no one, I felt like I had no one to talk to because,
Mm.
again, this was very taboo back in 2015.
Right.
No one talked about assault, no one talked about court hearings and all
Yeah.
and I just used my voice online to just vent and to just
Mm.
share this really, really tragic thing happening. And I guess I found strength from a lot of women who messaged
Mm.
and said that they experienced the same thing, and
Ooh.
they just messaged and said they hope they can find the courage to talk
Mm.
about it too.
Mm.
And that connection from different women in different countries, in different walks of life coming together, that's what gives me strength. And that's my whole purpose right now, is to prove to fellow survivors that you may be shaped by your past, but you are not defined by it. And you can have another chapter. And that's the funny thing, because right now I work as a comedian. I work to make people laugh. And
Right. Right.
a lot of people don't know, oh, she has a very unhappy
Mm.
background.
Well, you mentioned about, you being a comedian. I that's now, and you have this super serious and powerful core of, that shaped you of who you are right now. What
Mhm.
happened in between? How did you became a comedian and jumping on forward, creating content that really touched people's lives and making them smile? How did that happen?
Well, even before the whole harassment incident happened, I was always a bubbly person. I was always the class clown. I was always the one doing jokes with people. It's just my personality. And when the whole harassment thing happened, I felt like I didn't know myself anymore because I thought that, maybe this is my identity. Maybe this is going to be me for the rest of my life, a victim. Maybe that's who I will always be. And that's valid, that feeling is valid because when you're in that position, it's so, so hard to see the light at the end of it all. It's just so hard. But then after a few years, I was reflecting and I said, you know, this harasser, he's taken so much of my life. He's taken my college life away from me. He's taken my childhood away from me. He deprived me of having a normal life. And I don't want him to remove my very identity. And so I started being funny again. I started being myself. And it was just so empowering to rewrite and reclaim the narrative that, yes, I was a victim, but I'm going to change it. I'm going to be a victor now. I'm a survivor
Ooh, I
now.
love that. Retake the narrative.